The third example is how to expand a binomial product. There's a standard method called FOIL, which stands for first, outer, inner, last. In this example, that means we start by multiplying 2a by 3a. That's the first. The outer is 2a times negative 2. Inner is plus 5 times 3a. And the last is plus 5 times minus 2. The most common mistake that students make is doing something wrong with negative signs. So the main advice to avoid this mistake is to write out the multiplications in full following the FOIL method. So let's look at that. We start with the first pair, 2a times 3a. Both numbers are positive. The next pair, outer, is 2a times negative 2. So make sure you write plus 2a times negative 2. It's okay to use a times sign as part of your working out to help avoid mistakes. The third pair, inner, is the plus 5 times 3a. So it's plus 5 times 3a. And the final pairing is plus 5 times negative 2 plus 5 times negative 2. I do recommend that you actually say the steps to yourself, either out loud at home when you're practicing or under your breath in a test, that's fine. But the main thing is not to go too quickly and be very careful about where the negative signs are. Now that we've got this far, we can work out these multiplications. Once again, you can look at the letters and the numbers separately. So we start with the numbers. 2 times 3 is 6. A times a is a squared. Now in the second multiplication, we have a positive 2 times a negative 2. And a positive times a negative is always a negative. So write a minus sign. 2 by 2 is 4. There's only one factor of a, so we just write a. 5 times 3a is just 15a. And then on the end we have a plus 5 times a negative 2, which is negative 10. Now in these, you're always going to have two like terms. And again, the negative sign is what is likely to cause trouble. First of all, let's just write down the 6a squared. We're not going to do anything with that. And to work out this addition, I recommend that you draw yourself a number line. Just sketch it very quickly, put a 0 in the middle. And our starting point, because when we're adding and subtracting, we must work left to right. So we're starting at negative 4 on the number line. And we're going to add 15 to that. And you should be able to see quite easily that plus 15 will take us over the 0 onto the positive side of the line. So in this case, negative 4 plus 15 will give us a positive answer. The difference between 15 and 4 is just 11. So the answer must be positive 11. In other words, we have 11a. And we finish off by writing minus 10. The fourth example is how to expand a binomial where you have a repeated bracket. And the first step is very important. Simply write out the second bracket. The squared tells you that there are two brackets. If it happened to be 3 minus 2y in brackets cubed, then we would write a third bracket, and so on. Once you've written it like this, it's exactly the same as the examples we've just done. So using the FOIL method and following my tip of writing out the multiplications in full so that you don't make mistakes with negative signs. So here we go. The first is 3 times 3. Then we go for the outer. 3 times negative 2y. The inner is negative 2y times 3. And the last is negative 2y times negative 2y. Just double check at this point to make sure that you have included all of the negative signs. Remember that the negative sign is always before the term. Alright, so now we can perform these multiplications. 3 times 3 is 9. Plus 3 times negative 2y will be negative 6y, minus 2y times positive 3. Remember, a negative times a positive is always a negative, so that's another negative 6y. And then a minus times a minus is always a plus, so negative 2y times negative 2y is positive 4y squared. Remember that you can multiply the numbers and the letters separately. 2 times 2 is 4, y times y is y squared. Now we need to remember that there are like terms to be collected. Let's write down the 9, we're not going to touch that. Now how do we handle minus 6y minus 6y? Well, again, if you're a bit unsure, I recommend that you draw a number line. Sketch it quickly, you don't need a ruler. Put a 0 on it, and the minus 6, which is our starting point. Now we're taking 6 away from that, so the number is becoming more negative. It's minus 6 minus 6, and we get down to minus 12. So minus 6y minus 6y is negative 12y. It's not 6 minus 6 equals 0. We didn't start with positive 6, we started with negative 6. So the final answer must be an even larger negative number. And we write the 4y squared on the end. Are we done yet? No, because it's standard to write these expressions in descending order of the powers. So y squared should be first. So we're going to write plus 4y squared first. We don't need the positive sign, of course, there. And then we write the minus 12y. And then we write the plus 9 on the end. That's standard form, and now we're done.